Code. Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Agenda is adopted. We have a delegation this evening, Mr. Sean Vincent, regarding Comox Valley Rocks for Kids, providing us with a summary report in terms of how that event went. I think John Mang's here as well. So welcome. Down there, hang out here. Come on up. Oh, she's just going around the camera now. But yes.
There's evidence.
Well, there's a camera?
Have the evidence.
Yeah, good to have CD.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us tonight. We're here tonight to report back to you on the Comox Valley Rocks for Kids that happened on June 9th. I want to start with some thank yous. First of all, thank you to the town of Comox for having us. Also for giving us the sale buildings, which unfortunately didn't get used, but they were available to us had we needed them. And a couple of individuals that we wanted to recognize. Al Fraser was just phenomenal to deal with before we hit the decks on the day of setup on the 8th. The day of the 8th, when one of the, I think the porta potty truck drove into a certain section of the grass and sunk down and created a little bit of a mess. We were on that ourselves with some rakes and shovels, but Al handled it very well. Also, Jeff from the marina. I don't know if he's actually a part of the town of Comox, but he was just unbelievably helpful, and knew where every nook and cranny was. John Mang and his wife Sue were. We couldn't have done this without the two of them. They've been to the dance in the park before with the nautical days, and it was just invaluable. John's mapping and just that knowledge. They gave us a template for the musicians to do what they did. So the day itself, the day was a success. There's things we can't do anything about. One of them is Mother Nature. The numbers we feel came in at around somewhere between 900 and 1,100. Yeah, 900 and 1,100 people. Kind of hard to tell because there's people going, there was people coming. We'd hoped for a little bit better walk-up, but again, Mother Nature kept people. There was big black clouds that were out that day. But the people that showed up had an unbelievably good time. The vendors that were involved, we had the Rocky Mountain Cafe, we had Tria Catering, we had 40 Knots Winery, the Parrot.
In fact, and the two resident trucks on the property, which is Surfside, that's Kate's operation, and the new one, the Fat Parrot.
Fat Parrot. So by all accounts, everyone had a great day from a vending perspective. There was a lot more people down there than the usual Saturday, June 9th. The Rocky Mountain people were also, what a great local business for you guys to have here. They were phenomenal to deal with. We've had conversations with them about moving forward in years to come. So the reason for all this was to have a rock concert in Comox Marina Park, and that happened. Secondary to that, we raised some money for the Comox Valley Child Development Association. We've still got checks coming in. I had a check come in today to the office for $2,500. So it looks like we probably raised somewhere in the neighborhood of around $5,000. A lot of cost the first year to get set up for an event like this. A big learning curve for the people at my company and some of the people that hadn't been involved. I think John kind of had a good idea of what was coming. So John's going to talk about some of the structural things for the concert. Some of the challenges that the musicians were having that day with some of the stuff that we supplied them as far as infrastructure. But talk to Brian, and again, the total tally's still coming in. We definitely are financially committed to this, and we're hoping actually to be able to do this event again next year and the year after. We're looking at a 3-year plan if you guys will have us again. And we'll take the cause as it comes, just depending on what's going on in the community. I love the Child Development Association, but we're going to be open to anything that happens to be going on at the time. The dates, we are having conversations about the dates for an event like this. June just seems to be such an iffy month, and we've learned a great deal. somebody, a local business person out here said, hey, I go to the Comox Rec Center, why wasn't there a poster out there? We get 1,500 people coming through there in a month. So we've learned, a lot about that. So when it comes to numbers next year, but overall, the vision we had, we're deeming it a success. The people at Child Development Association are very happy. We're still kind of in conversations with them about what's coming to them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John to talk about the music and the infrastructure side of things.
Well, thanks, Sean. I really don't have a lot to add, and anything that I might, I could talk about the infrastructure in the park, and it'd be a little bit of a broken record. We all know what I'm going to say, and the bottom line is that I think with more, as we continue in our attempts to positively activate the park, we continue to learn and grow and get a better understanding of what we need to make things work. And as we upscale our vision and our activities, again, it's, we all know it's a step at a time. My sense is that with a little bit of time, we've done some consultation. We've had, I've worked with Richard and the rest of you on a variety of elements, and there's no new ideas. We need better power, maybe a stage, maybe not, maybe there's a variety of things that we could look at. But at the end of the day, it's a fabulous space that is incredibly versatile, very welcoming. I think it's great for the town. It's exactly where we want it to be, and I think that we can host all kinds of interesting activities there. And it's just a matter of ensuring that it's a little less of an uphill run every time we want to set something up, and that it's a little more conducive for the kinds of activities that we want to put in the park. And we all know that it's great for the town anytime that we can activate the park, and that it's community oriented and people like what's going on there, then it's a good value for us, it's good value for the community. So I think that's really what we're up to. The date, it's tough. It's tough to pick a date. There's a lot of, I should have started this by saying, I learned a lot. And we do every time we do one of these, and as everybody knows, it's not my first turn to truck ride around the park, but we pick up things every time we go forward. I don't have a document for circulation, but I've got 3, 4, 5 pages of notes here that I'm going to share with Sean, and we'll vet it and then put it on for wider distribution. But really, it was nothing but a success. It was my pleasure to work on it, and we're hoping that we can do it again. The entertainment was really strong. There was some local entertainment on the stage, and a lot of it was from away. I think that we can continue to work on that blend so that our local artists also have an opportunity for this. But you have to have a mix because people also want to come and see something new and something fresh. So we certainly satisfied that. My sense is that the sky's the limit on this one. We'll take it as far as we want to go.
Great, thank you, gentlemen. There are questions from council. And Councillor Grant.
John, we've heard about power down at the park ever since you and Sue took over nautical things. And I'm just wondering, it came to my attention at Shellfish Fest, or Seafood Fest again, over at Philbert Park, that the power only goes so far down that park as well. And so it seems to me that if we want to bring better quality acts in, power is pretty much one of the essential pieces. I mean, if you're a big act, you would look and go, the power doesn't work. That's probably a showstopper right there, I would think.
Well,
correct?
Well, for the most part, I mean, we at both of the events this year, I had a hand in both of them, and we had to use generator power. So there's a couple of things about generators. There's always some noise pollution. They're not as safe. Doesn't matter how you cut it. I mean, they're great appliances, and the entire movie industry runs on them. So it's not that we are taking a risk, but I think that at the source of every event that you want to do, there's going to be a power requirement, and the power set up over at Philbert, while a little more comprehensive in terms of area and scope, not that they're running a contest here, but the new power that did come in with the redevelopment project is really a good start, and those are the kinds of, more of those kinds of installations are really what we need. The problem at Philburg is that even though they do have it distributed across the park, it still only comes from 2 boxes. So it doesn't matter how many, it doesn't matter how fine you slice the pie, there's still only one pie, right? So that's kind of the way it works.
Right.
By the way, thanks for your help at the, near the end of the festival. Ken and I were dragging a couple of
Yes.
extension cords around
Yeah,
the...
and I think we were the garbage guys too, weren't we?
Yeah. Well, I found that no matter what you do with these events, it doesn't matter what your position is, at some point you're going to be plugging stuff in and cleaning products. That's just the
Well,
way
I
it
learned
is.
one thing, don't park your truck inside and leave it overnight, because the gate's locked when you get there, and in order to get out, you have to take garbage to the garbage dump, or they don't open the gate for you.
I want to get you a ticket punch.
Exactly.
Anybody else have anything?
McKinnon?
Yeah, well, I did my best to try to lighten the beer load, so you didn't have to take that back when you did the next day. But I'm wondering, did you have any complaints from neighbors for noise?
I wanted to, I missed that when I was speaking.
Or did we, maybe to staff as well? Did we?
We didn't hear anything, and I haven't heard anything from staff. And the other thing that, maybe even a success was we had 0 issues with any security problems with the beer garden or the gazebo with the VIP area. So that's another real nice feather for us. John and I talked about it. Had we had 2,000 people down there, that would have been the max. We'll probably apply for a different type of licensing next year for the park. Again, just just some functional things for people to be able to get around and enjoy things as they wish. So, but had no negative feedback other than a couple of people reached out to us and said, "Hey, we missed it. We didn't hear about it." So that's a whole other animal for us with marketing.
Yeah, it was a good event, thank you.
Councillor McKinnon, I think was next.
Yes, well, first of all, the idea of your group sponsoring and bringing the community together for a cause is really admirable. We really should tip the hat to you for doing that and taking that on. And it's a great concept, but to do that is just a wonderful gesture, Sean, and you should be commended for that. I have two points, and one of them might have been covered, is that the decision to have music shooting out that way, as opposed to the old nautical days where the stage was this way shooting towards the apartments, I think was a wise one, because my guess is that you probably would have got some complaints if the music speakers were facing this way, and it sounds like there was no complaints because the music was shooting out. That one comment, so I think that was a good decision by council and looking at that a few years ago. And secondly is the idea of selecting a date not conflicting with other things in the community. That's always a tough one to do, but to try and have weather cooperate as well. That's a $1 million question, but something that might be looked at to get others on side as well, so it doesn't conflict either close to their date. I don't know if you had any feedback from that the event was conflicting with something else or too close to another event. I haven't heard that, but I wondered if that might be
The relay-
consideration your committee could look at.
Yeah, no, the Relay for Life was on that night, and apparently the Relay for Life did very, very well with attendance, and probably a little bit to the detriment of this. So what we've done, we had a post-mortem meeting last Friday, and the girls in my office are actually researching events in the Comox Valley, Camp River, and Nanaimo for next year, just to try to slot things in. Yes.
Yeah, it was Pride Day in Nanaimo as well, and not that you're necessarily going to have a big draw from across the island, but it's even at Music Fest they have 15, 20, 25% are people from away. I'm a little out of my wheelhouse talking about that, but that's in a lot of ways that always presents you with the margins that you're looking for. So it's important to have some draw.
Councillor Margaret.
Thank you. I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately, but I have been hearing good reports. And I guess the bottom line to everything that's been spoken here is you said thank you to the town, and I think the town owes you a big vote of thanks, too, for choosing us for such a great show, and for the years to come. Thank you.
Well, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen. Nice to see you still have hair in your heads after all that. Hanging in there. I understand that Brian Ellis is moving to the Comox Valley in the near future, so you might have to have it every time he has his birthday, apparently, because there was a celebration coincident with his birthday. I know he seemed to have a lot of fun. It was like reliving his youth from a few years ago. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's being discussed. You know, they bought a home here, and they're moving back from Los Angeles, and he's going to base his music profession out of here and travel to do his stuff. But that's the other leg of this for the years to come, is that we'll have someone that's in the industry here locally at that level to assist with the hype, if we can call it that, for next year and the year after.
All right. Well, thank you again, gentlemen.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yep.
And don't forget the 60s as well. The 60s was good too.
Yeah, they were very What's that? All right, we'll move on to regular council meeting minutes for approval.
Move.
Second.
For the June 20th meeting, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Management report for receipt.
Move.
Second.
Receipt then, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Any follow-up on any of those, Councilor Grant?
I was just wondering if you could give us an update on the wayfinding and where we are, and, where's Al? Is Al not here? I guess Al's not here. I guess we can't get one.
I think we're getting something soon.
Yes, you are. Mr. Fraser has actually been meeting with the sign companies to go over various templates for the wayfinding markers that are in development. So we should be getting a report for the August meeting. We're still on target for basically putting them up by mid-August. So you will get something at the August 1st meeting.
Good. And I noticed that we have our Comox Valley Ambassadors program has started now, or it's Town of Comox, starting at Comox Valley. And this might be something that would be interesting for them to be up to speed on as well, because I think it's going to impact tourism throughout our downtown core and our town. I just thought I might mention
Yeah, there
that.
was hopefully everyone saw that email about their initial first week, quite a bit of
Yeah,
interest there.
yeah, it's actually good. I ended up talking to them, and they're doing little surveys and helping people out, and it's good.
Anything else in the manager report? Seeing none, we'll move on to second item of unfinished business, which is 1170 Lazo Road, development permit application and development variance permit application. Recommendations from staff are to issue those, but staff member Planner is here. Any questions you may have?
And we do both of these at the same
So you
time.
probably do them one at a time, but
Okay, I'll move one.
I'll second it.
the development permit to be issued subject to the conditions listed in the report. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
I'll move number 2.
Second.
Okay, development variance permits to be issued subject to those conditions in the report. That's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. All right, thank you, staff, for bringing that forward. And that was basically to have been done at the same time as rezoning, but there was an advertising oversight, so that's why we had to bring it back here. All right, now to the next issue, which is unfinished, of course, is the issue around gas beach fires in Kaibé. Staff had provided a report and some background information, so council may wish to discuss that further.
I'd like to move that we allow the gas beach fires down at Kaibé, taking into account what the fire chief said with manpower and policing that. Perhaps what we can do is have this for this summer season, review it in the fall, winter.
So can you summarize that a little more briefly?
You know me, I can't.
How about if we go to allow it for one season and review after?
Yeah.
After.
Yeah,
Your worship?
add the wording at the end here.
So the resolution would be perhaps that the fire prevention regulation bylaw be amended to permit gas beach fires in Kaibé for summer 2018.
Yes, and to be reviewed thereafter, or
Or
something.
Well, not thereafter, just we'll review it after and see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, so that's been seconded.
I'll second.
Okay. Now, on that, you wish to discuss that?
Yes, please. The worship, at the last meeting, the committee of the whole, when this was brought up, our fire chief was not here, and I appreciate the report that's been written, but I'm wondering if it would be wise and valuable to hear from the fire chief now to speak to that in regards to what has been allowed and what isn't allowed
For
and
sure.
why.
All right, we'll open it to the fire chief's input. Thank you.
Your Worship, thank you for that. My report emphasizes many points. We do allow gas-fired rings on residential properties. We looked at this bylaw very carefully a few years ago when we made that adjustment. We've had significant problems in the Kaibe area with beach fires over the many past years where we're currently paying footprint security to do nightly patrols down there. It's a cost to the community for that. We're also getting called out on a regular basis for the fire department to deal with fires down there. So there are lots of complaints of fires down there. I'm only aware of one request to have fires on the beach, but I've had many complaints. My concern is that if we allow them on the beach, we're going to have a lot of younger people maybe having wood fires in other areas down there, and it's going to be very, very hard to manage. And keep in mind, I have 3 staff at the moment. And lots of hours in a day, 15 miles of beach, not just this one.
Right. Further discussion, questions for staff or just debate?
Well,
Yeah.
I guess really you've answered my question. Thank you very much for that, Gord. The concern is, of course, if there are beach fires per se, as much as we love those, remember the days when we did our marshmallows and stuff, how great that was. But those days have gone too. And just to add to what you said, my thoughts were, given climate change and our severe weather in the summer, in addition to our population growth, all of that just adds to what I think you've already said. So, yeah.
Okay, any further comments, questions?
Just to reiterate it, I think it's worth giving it a shot for the rest of this month, August, and we see how it goes. And I do appreciate the work that it puts you on. With that, beach fires and the beach kind of go hand in hand, and it is a nice thing. And I think people are going to smell if there's wood burning, or they will call the fire department. If they see something they don't smell, maybe. I think it's worth a shot for a month and a half.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the direction of this. I mean, I wasn't aware at the last meeting that we already do allow it for on people's own property, and I think that's where it should stay. That creates the level of responsibility and accountability that you need. Otherwise, if it's out on the beach, where is it? Whose is it? There is, of course, a very highly supervised beach fire program, a wood beach fire program for Goose Spit and other areas, such as Point Homes, which requires a lot of maintenance and support. And yes, bylaws are made for those who are not perhaps willing to be using common sense. So it's unfortunate, but I think that allowing it for the reasons outlined in the fire chief's report is probably something we shouldn't go through. He did point out, although Bay does this, they have a full-time 24-hour day, 24-hour day fire department staffed, and we just don't have that resource capacity. And for people, if they want to have a fire, they're more than able to do so on their own property. I think that should be where it's left, as it is in most of the town, other than those beach fires, say, in Goose Spit or at Point Home. Go ahead.
Yes, I must admit I too have a reluctance, given the fire chief's views, that it could open up beach fires as wood at Kaibe. I know when we looked at looking for an area where beach fires would be permissible, because beach fires were happening illegally all over, we did rule Kaibe out just because it's hard to fight fires down there because of the houses being all along the beachfront. And if a fire got out of hand, then the potential is bad. And Goose Spit was the ideal. The open part of Goose Spit was the ideal part from fire control. And I can see that concern that if people at night see fire burning, it's really hard to see whether it's a wood fire or a gas fire. And And once you allow things, it's hard to close them down again. That's the other thing. I mean, I hear what you're saying about doing a pilot on it. But yeah, so when I read the report, I must admit I had concerns, and I do look to the fire chief for his views for the protection of the town. So that's where I'm coming from.
Councillor McKinnon and then Swift. And then
Just very briefly, I know Councillor Arnott has good intentions and...
Are not.
Before
Before you're done on this council term, I'm going to get you to say are not.
And is trying to find something to make it work for families and for groups. However, I do defer to the expertise of our fire chief and his great record of renown around the province. So I'm afraid I can't support this.
Councillor Swift.
Just to clarify, the problem comes from the wood fires, not gas fires on the beach, is that correct? Or
Well, it depends on what you mean by the problem. My problem is going to be policing it. When people see fires on the beach, you drive into the parking lot there and you see a fire, you're going to have a propensity to start your own fire. Right? And then somebody's going to call us, and that happens almost on a regular basis right now. And again, I just want to mention the staffing. It's difficult for us to patrol this much time area. You know, we get called in at 3 o'clock in the morning or midnight or whatever to deal with these things. It's a challenge.
Okay, yeah, so that's the second part. Can we put a time frame on that, only until 9 o'clock, just a question, or 10 o'clock? But I'm wondering, the question that the staff sent to the fire chief, do we allow hibachis out on there, like little barbecues on the beach right now?
I'll ask our fire chief.
Okay.
Yeah, Your Worship, that hasn't been an issue. There's quite a bit different aspect to that. The hibachi doesn't have an open flame as a gas fire ring, so it would be less noticeable. But sure, people would have hibachi.
So they could still go out and have a barbecue on the beach.
Yeah. And of course, if I can just add, my concern is more so the global aspect here, all our beaches, not just at one beach. Because if we start with one beach, we may end up having 15 miles of beach like this. And I think we need to be aware of that.
There is a time limit in the existing bylaw to do with fires being extinguished by 11 p.m. That's the other kind of where they're allowed.
Yeah.
All right, so we've had discussion, good questions, good answers. You ready for the question?
Yep.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is defeated. So unless there's a further motion coming forward, then it will be left as is. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which I believe is going to have a presentation by our planner about cannabis regulation. So we'll let him get that fired up. Soon there'll be a PowerPoint.
Not a fun there.
I was talking about these fires. I think the CEO made sure that he hit the high points.
Yeah. I can't think of it. I'm trying to hit stuff.
Okay, so the presentation is on recreational cannabis retail store regulations. Recreational cannabis retail stores is a lot to say constantly, so I'll just refer to it as cannabis stores throughout the presentation. Background. So it's a two-step process in terms of coming up with these regulations. Step one was completed on April 18th of this year with the adoption of Comox Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1880, and that's the one that prohibited cannabis stores in the town of Comox. So the idea was to create a base that it was prohibited and then to allow it in accordance with the community's wishes. Step two, of course, involves creating that framework for legalization of cannabis stores. Two important dates on that is the first one was June 6th when proposed regulatory framework for cannabis stores was presented to council, and that was followed on June 14th with the community open house to obtain public comments on that framework. So, second part of this presentation is really reviewing the proposed regulatory framework and highlighting the modifications that were incorporated into the proposed bylaws in response to public comment that's been received. So, the proposed regulatory framework really has two major components. First one is to establish zoning and business licensing regulations for cannabis stores. And that's provide some certainty for both the community in terms of where they would be permitted and businesses. Again, that's where they would be permitted and the restrictions or requirements for them. The second part is the provincial referral process, which allows us to address unforeseen circumstances. Because this referral process, essentially through the statutes, we do now know that the provincial licenses will be required of all cannabis stores. And all provincial license applications will be referred to the appropriate council for comment. And if the appropriate council recommends their objection, then there will be no provincial license will be issued. So just in graphic format, so essentially what we've got on that is, of course, the first step is to apply for provincial license. That gets referred to the town of Comox. If council recommends rejection, no license is issued, so the matter then dies. If council recommends issuance, then the applicant still has to meet the zoning and business licensing regulations that are in place, and the store gets to be established. In the regulations themselves, one of the key, two key aspects of it was identifying commercial zone properties where retail currently existed, or retail stores are currently allowed, shown in red, and a minimum separation between potential cannabis stores of 250 meters. During the presentation, we did highlight that these potential locations does not equal actual stores. To be an actual store, you'd actually have to have sufficient demand to support it. The site would have to be suitable for a cannabis store, and also, of course, the price would have to be right for the cannabis store. Regardless, there was concern expressed regarding the maximum number of stores, and there should be some sort of a cap put on. The proposed bylaws incorporate a maximum of 2 stores downtown and 1 store outside of downtown. Another key regulation was minimum separation from sensitive uses, such as parks and playgrounds and around schools. This was the map that was shown to council and at the open house in terms of what those separations would look like. Public concern raised was proximity to liquor stores in terms of negative effects of mixing liquor and cannabis use. And so in the proposed bylaws before you tonight, it includes provisions that no cannabis store be on the same parcel as a liquor store. And then on the staff level, we added gas bar and service stations simply because they're high traffic areas and with a high potential for impulse buys. So the result, so this shows the result in terms of the red shows those parcels on which cannabis store would be permitted and on which there is not a current liquor store or gas station or gas bar. Where there is a current liquor store, gas station, or gas bar is shown in, call that orange. So also incorporated into this map, some of the separation distance boundaries have been rationalized. So for example, on Quality Foods is right up in here. We have Aspen School Park. That buffer area created an arc through the lot on the south end of that area and make it a lot easier for our potential stores and for staff to interpret the zoning bylaw. We've done right angles and measurements in the proposed bylaws. So that's just an example of how it was rationalized. Remote locations, so commercial properties that are quite removed from commercial districts were deleted. So that's 1261 Knoll Avenue here and on Manor Place. A couple of outliers of commercial zone properties. Of course, as stated before, we still have a max of 3 stores now built into it. Cannabis stores would be restricted to the sale of cannabis. No other products or paraphernalia would be permitted. And in terms of clean storefront provisions, They would apply not only to cannabis stores, but also to any stores selling cannabis paraphernalia, or businesses advocating or promoting cannabis use. With that, if anyone has any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Grant.
Marvin, the one thing that I've noticed already with this, when you're walking downtown in Nanaimo or even Victoria, is the smell in the downtown. You know, they're hanging out on the corners, smoking pot. The smell is something that I know comes up a lot. Is there, and I noticed in our report here that we do have the ability to restrict beyond what the province says. Have we got any plans to look at where you could actually smoke cannabis within our downtown or anywhere for that matter?
Not at this time beyond what's already contained within the provincial regulations.
So
And that's regulated by the province. So-
is it something that we would look into before we bring this forward, or are we just going to?
That'd be up to council.
Yeah, that'll be up to council. There's a staffing, there's a enforcement aspect and staffing aspect related to that.
Yeah, okay. Secondly, if we already have 3 stores in town and a 4th applicant comes, I noticed that your chart there where we're going down and the applicants, would the 4th application be automatically rejected because we've already got 3? Or would that come to council and then, how would that work?
There's, so, if you have 3 applications within the system, so they're already a recommendation, council has unfettered discretion at this point. So council can just say, that's really nice, we would like to just wait to see what happens. It's premature, come back another time.
Okay.
What's built into the bylaws themselves is stores becoming established and getting counted as an established store once a business license has been issued. And restrictions on the business license in terms of once you get a business license, that you have to be operational within a certain time limit. So that there is something built into the bylaws in terms of when you get past the post to be counted as an existing one, and some protections in terms of ensuring it's a bona fide interest, not somebody just trying to secure a location or a license to flip it. So those would go in. But no, council has that discretion at any time. Same thing, if council gets the implication that there's something, new information coming up, it's a new industry, so we're all going to learn as we go through it. Council finds out that something is not going the way that they liked it or something like that, they can just recommend it to the application to refuse. And so that's really a safeguard.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Arnott?
Yeah, Marvin, can you go to the next slide there with the town? The next one? Maybe the next. Yeah, that one. To the left, to the orange L there, that's the mall.
Yes.
To the left of that, you're saying that they could put something there, that red, but that's the Lawrence site.
Yeah.
So is the Lawrence site because you don't want to mix cannabis and liquor together?
Yep.
That's correct.
So those zones have a built-in requirement that says if you have a liquor store, you can't have a cannabis store. Or if you have a gas station or a service station on site, you can't have it. So
Right.
it's under a condition of use. So in that case, what the Lauren would have the ability to do is,
Have a choice of what they want.
but you can't have both.
Right. But they can, so right now though, are they potentially zoned for both liquor and after this goes through, liquor and cannabis? And they have to pick and choose what they want?
Well, the way the regulations would be, it would say you can have a liquor store. Under conditions of use, it says, in that zone, it'll say, top of my head, probably that the liquor store is limited to, and then it limits you actually to this site, as opposed to actually limits you to the Lawrence site, as opposed to the entire zone. Under those same conditions of use, it would say cannabis stores cannot be, you can't have a cannabis store in conjunction with a liquor store.
Right.
So
Or in
really,
this case, a pub.
that was not included. Areas of drinking were not included.
So they could have a pub there, and where they used to have their liquor store, they could have now a cannabis store on the same parcel.
I mean, we did look at that. Concern was alcohol laws are being relaxed. It's being available in more and more locations.
Right.
So you have restaurants. Restaurants now are able to have a secondary license of a certain number of seats that are pure alcohol seats.
Okay.
Right? So where do you draw the line? And really what it came down to is this is a sales area versus a restaurant or a pub's consumption on site.
Right.
And that whole aspect of what the province is going to do in regards to consumption and how that's going to work in terms of within businesses, I think is something that's going to be evolving over the next year or two.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Swift.
I'm just foreseeing a time when we're able to accept applications. If you're flooded with these things, which you might be, how would it just be first come, first serve in terms of processing an application?
So built into the requirements are that you can't apply because yes, that's one of the things. People are starting to jockey, right? How can I get my name in, and who's going to be first to get on any kind of a waiting list? That essentially we don't take any applications until they're actually referred to us from the province. One of the risks then, of course, is the province is the province going to refer them to us as they come, or are they going to batch them? Right? And so really what we would do there is it would be up to council. So I mean, if we got a batch and let's say that there was something significantly different between the two, then we might just turn around and say, well, council, please be aware, this has this attribute, whether it be positive or negative. So maybe it's something that's a larger community benefit, and then seeking council's direction as to what order would you like us to put them in. So that ordering of any kind of a batch would be totally at council's discretion. I mean, if we get them separately, weeks apart or something like that, and one's ready before council, we'll just process them as they come.
Thank you.
Councillor Margaret.
Just 180 degrees if I might more, but I know in our information, council information, that Mr. Rob Austin suggested, why don't we consider cannabis-free town of Comox? Was that ever given any consideration? I don't remember hearing anything about that.
No. When the approach originally taken in terms of the assumption was that people in Comox would want to have access to it, but that they would want to have it regulated and appropriate regulations. Because we were the first municipality in the valley to have the banning bylaw come forward, that was the majority of the concerns that that bylaw was an attempt to prohibit its use within the town of Comox. So, and even now in terms of the comments that we received, some people strongly against it, some people strongly for it. So, unless council wishes to give other direction, you can always investigate that if council wishes.
I've had folks ask me the question, which is why I wanted to pass it on to you, so thank you.
Yeah, it might be difficult given the existence already of the black market, but to have a cannabis-free Comox might be difficult.
I think so too, but I needed to hear it from the source.
Legal
Yes.
Councillor McKinnon.
My impression was that one of the UPCN or ABICC meeting was that we've had a case study of jurisdictions just south of the border that have enabled the use of cannabis in Washington State and in Colorado, keeping in mind it's different governmental systems, of course. It was mentioned there that there may be some good evidence as to what works and what doesn't work for municipalities. And I thought I heard someone saying they were going to share that information with municipalities in regards to that. Has there been any sharing of information at the municipal level about what's worked in Washington State in particular, because it's so close, with municipal legislation and legalizing cannabis sales?
I think most of that, there was quite a bit of work done on that at the federal level when they actually presented the regulations in terms of looking at other jurisdictions and at the provincial level. At the local level, I know that when we did our survey, we did look at, I believe, one location in Washington State. A lot of the concerns were quite similar to what we're proposing. but they also have very different regulatory powers, and so what they can't get into.
There is, of course, the work that's been done by the UBCM committee that has been presented to the province, and a lot of what was presented and recommended through that committee has found its way into the provincial legislation. So the province, largely, along with the feds, has the power to license and to regulate. What we're talking about here is a land use issue. And by and large, whether we want to deal with public consumption is another matter, but we're really talking about a land use issue. And from my perspective, I think this is a good start. It will evolve over time. At one time there were very limited numbers of liquor stores and outlets. Now there's more. I mean, this may be a good start, and we'll see how it evolves. Of course, we still don't know what the regulatory scheme will be for edibles and how that will unfold. So I think over time, probably the issues around smoke, vapors and things like that will disappear, and we'll move more towards the edible side in all likelihood, but that'll determine itself over time. So were there any other questions or comments?
Just a quick comment. At the park dedication today, it was interesting to know when I walked up, a lady that I knew was sitting at her property there, and she said she was complaining about cigarette smoke blowing from one of the cars there.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a common issue, and is a common issue, and with cigarettes still with many of the public.
Yes, I think during the open house there were some comments submitted around that. Within a strata complex or an apartment building, they can regulate that, hopefully, to some extent.
Yes.
So staff are looking for recommendations to bring this forward to the public hearing. To do that, that public hearing will be held August 1st, 7 p.m. at the Stair. We need to pass first, second, and third reading of the business regulation.
I'll move that.
Any discussion at this stage? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Now I'll move 2.
Thank you.
Second.
And that's for first and second readings of the zoning amendment bylaw. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
And move 3.
Second.
That's for the procedures amendment bylaw. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
And move 4.
So that's to establish the public hearing for August 1st. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
And move
And 5 is to publish the notice of that amendment in accordance with committee charter. All those in favor? Motion's carried. That is also the same evening as our August council meeting, which will be at 5:30. And so if we're not finished council by 7, we'll adjourn to the public hearing at that time. And that's it on that one. We'll see where we go at the public hearing. All right, special reports we have for receipt the minutes of the Regional District Board.
Move receipt.
Second.
Receipt then, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Under new business, we have the appointment of Jesse Prosky as Deputy Director of Finance effective July 1.
Move.
Second.
And of course, Deb Andrews' last day of work was today, and so I wish her well in her move down to Victoria. And of course, welcome Jesse to her new job. So hopefully you'll pass this motion. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Should be living in that box too.
And on the financial side of things, we have a amendment to the financial plan that's requested here for the purpose of buying a new truck.
I'll move that.
For the fire department.
I'll second it for discussion.
Fire Chief, over to you. Thank you for the report, or for the CEO's report, I should say. I know we have provided the background here. Are there any things that we should know other than what's in here?
Your Worship, nothing that's not in there other than the fact that the truck is really important to our operations. We have 5 trailers, as I mentioned in the report, and currently have 1 truck to pull 5 trailers. So some days that becomes a challenge. It's significantly changed the way we do business. We're using the sponsored car commercial vehicle right now for our day-to-day operation, duty officer vehicle, which isn't quite the right fit for us either. It's not, it doesn't have a radio and it doesn't have a light bar on it like some of the other vehicles would be. So it's definitely an important piece of equipment. And further to that, the cost is shared with our partners. That's where the Collection District 2 picks up, I believe, about 27% of that.
Okay. Councilor Adams.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that we're only getting $8,000 from the insurance company on that. Is there equipment on that truck that we're able to take off of that
Yes.
to use on the new truck?
So we sent, I sent 2 of my guys down to Coons a couple weeks ago that took the emergency equipment off the truck, so light bar that wasn't broken. radio, sirens, so there's some salvageable stuff on the truck. A lot of it wasn't salvageable, but there are a few items, a couple $1,000 worth of salvageable stuff. And the truck was 11 years old. We would typically keep a pickup truck for 15 to 20 years in Frederick Park because we treat them pretty well. So we would have got a few more years out of that truck, but it's 11 years old, that's why the value is so low on it.
Yeah, it seems an awful low amount. Thank you.
And, so that, along with the insurance proceeds, reserves from both the town and the fire protection district will cover that cost. So any other questions? Seeing none. Council's looking for authorization to amend the financial plan bylaw by adding $70,000 to permit the purchase of that vehicle, and as described there. And so,
So moved.
Yeah, I think we
need
did.
a second. Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Just want to make sure we got that financial plan amendment in there.
Yep.
All right. So, speaking of the financial plan amendments, we're looking at authority for the parade committee to spend up to $600 for souvenirs and supplies.
Moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And then we'll move on to the investment guideline revision. Staff are recommending a new policy as revised, as included in this report, to be approved.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Any discussion? The finance director is here. Thank you for the report. It looks like we're broadening the policy. And is there anything in particular that brought that forward?
I think there's been a number of requests from the credit unions and also other domestic banks to
Right.
bid. And on July 12th, there will be an opportunity for quite a few institutions to bid on our surplus from the property tax collection.
All right.
So I think we'll be looking at even better rate of returns.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, sorry, you have a question?
No, just in regards to the consideration of credit unions, I'm pleased to see that. I recall bringing that up at one point during my tenure on council, and there was some concern brought by your predecessor about credit unions.
Yes.
Obviously, you've looked through that and you don't have any concerns.
I have our qualifications on credit unions. We know that they are BC credit unions, and that they are to have a credit rating. Not all credit unions get a credit rating, so we're looking at the largest credit unions in Canada, like Coast Capital Credit Union, would be able to bid unfettered. And then so that limits the credit unions. So you won't see the small credit unions way up north in BC bidding for investments here. And the other qualifications we have is that we get a special allowance for a local credit union in the town of Comox that is of a certain size. So again, if some new credit union opens up and it's just a really small opening credit union, we wouldn't necessarily a proposal from them, but a larger credit union in the town of Comox, like we have here now, could bid.
So in your
With a limitation of 10% of our total cash investments, we would limit how much we invest.
So in your professional judgment, the risk assessment of going with a major credit union is not a concern.
I think we're very comfortable with the risk. Yes.
Thank you.
Safety principle.
Yes, and of course, the other thing too is that their deposits are 100% insured.
Yes, that's right. It must be 100% insured.
All right, so with all that, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And we'll move on to correspondence. So I asked that staff bring these forward. UDCM's coming up in the fall, Whistler, September 10 to 14. And we have letters from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, as well as the Premier, and of course, that covers all the various ministries. So in the past, we've had 2 or 3 meetings scheduled. I think with the Health Minister, the Aboriginal Affairs and Reconciliation Minister, I think the Transportation Minister 1 or 2 times. So it's more or less to get input from Council as to what kind of meetings you'd like to see and what we would be asking the relevant minister for.
I'll move we receive both of those
Okay.
at the same time, and then we can
On receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
discuss.
All right, so any suggestions as to, and keeping in mind, of course, Regional District will be submitting their requests, City of Courtney will be submitting their requests, and so on. So there'll be obviously some requests at the Regional District level around water and sewer and things like that that'll happen. So I think town of Comox specific.
Yes, well, I always think they're useful. And I think St. Joe's site is still very much up in the air. I think there is going to be more activity there. I've heard more seniors are going to be taken in. But it's a critical site for us, and it was a major employer. So, yeah, I think it would be...
Ministry of Health then?
I think so, yes. Just, and to hear from them what ideas and...
Perhaps by that time they may have results from their RFP that they've got out there, but I do know that 20 extended or alternative level care patients will be moving into St. Joe's from the new hospital to alleviate some of the capacity issues, so that'll be ongoing.
It may not be up to the town of Comox to do this, but, we're struggling with our water treatment facility. And one of the biggest struggles that we have is we're being told by one hand of government, we have to build it or we'll be fine. The other one is not telling us if we have the money. It would be really nice to sit down with whichever minister this is and say, if you're going to do something on one hand, be ready on the other, because it's putting us in a super awkward position right now. And I'm not sure who it is that we would talk to about that, but maybe it starts with the town of Comox bringing that up and making a bit of an issue of it, or perhaps it's better coming from the regional district, I'm not sure. But
perhaps our CEO can liaise with his fellow CEOs and see what they're doing. It certainly wouldn't hurt to have a concerted effort in that regard, because our ratepayers, of course, will be paying for it.
Well, yeah, and if we don't get the amount of money we're asking for, we could see some significant increases in water rates or problems with actually building the plant itself. So it's becoming more and more a problem, and it just seems to be going on and on and on. So
I think the point ministry there would be the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, so that would be a starting point. And again, we can find out if the CBRD in the city, they'll be putting in similar requests, and maybe we can assemble our requests and meet all at the same time.
yeah, that'd be good. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? The only other one that we've done in the past, as I mentioned, is Aboriginal Affairs and Reconciliation. It might not hurt to request that to see on an ongoing basis how we continue to collaborate with Comox First Nation. Of course, that's happening more at a regional level as well, but that might be another one. So never hurts. Mr. Fraser's always willing to chat with us. So we can try for 3. Usually don't get more than that.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for that, and we'll see where that goes. Next item of correspondence, I believe, is the classic car cruisers looking for their permissions, and I'll turn it over to the CEO just for a second. Once we receive the letter, so motion to receive the letter.
Move second.
All those in favor of receipt? Motion carried, and then CEO, I think you're going to comment a bit on the controlled intersection aspect.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. This is an annual event that General Council has supported in the past. The difference in the ask this year is they're looking for the ability to run their crews through controlled intersections. So intersections that have traffic lights, they want the ability to ignore whatever the light is for them and carry their event through so it doesn't break up the flow. The response from our municipal engineer on this is that in order to accomplish this, they should actually be applying for a road permit, which she would give consideration to, and controlling the intersections, the lit ones in particular, would require a traffic engineer to submit a traffic safety plan as well. So it's dependent on what the route of the cruise is going to be and what intersections in the town may be impacted.
It would be Comox and Edmonton for sure.
Your Worship? Richard, what's the difference then between that and the grad parades, the vintage car and the grad parades, and what the requirement is expected for that group?
Well, the grad parades would still have to contact the emergency services as this event would as well. The difference being that if the light turns red, the parade stops. They wait for the light to turn and then continue on.
Yes.
The classic car cruise event want the ability to have people at those intersections to control the traffic over and above what the lights are indicating.
Thanks for clarifying that. Why did they need that?
Well, because they want to stay all together, they don't want to be separated by other vehicles, it's that kind of thing.
I mean, they stick together.
We're not gonna let them put Christmas lights on the cars, are we?
Only if it's Christmas time. Councillor Bryce?
Yeah, are they also looking at four-way stops?
Yes.
So that, and I just wonder who would be the person who, the lady,
Well, that's why we need a permit, or they would need to have to get a
so they
permit.
would explain, and I guess they'd have to have flag people who
Yeah, so
are
if,
trained.
in general, if the Classic Car Cruise organizers wish to have the event as they have in the past, we would give them the standard letter saying council approves. Please contact emergency services to advise them of your event. And they still have to follow all traffic controls that exist on the road. If they wish to override the controls at those specific intersections, that is where we require the traffic safety plan to be submitted to the town.
Is there time for them to get a traffic safety plan into the town, being that this is
Let's hope so.
over at, they're doing it on the 28th of this month?
To get themselves organized.
Yeah. Do you have any idea of the magnitude of this spring?
400 cars,
400.
that's what they're saying. Now, they may not all be in the parade, but there's certainly quite a few.
So I have no problem with what they're trying to do. I do see a time crunch. Is there a motion that we could make that would say, we'll grant you the ability to do what you always do, if you want to take it to, like, I want to give them the ability to do both.
It would be deferred to staff as far as that decision goes, so a motion to approve the event with requirements of staff being met would be a similar.
Perfect, done.
So that's moved.
I'll second.
Seconded. Any further discussions? Discussions?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion's carried. All right. And we have a letter from the regional district seeking representation on the Comox Valley Sewerage System Liquid Waste Management Planning Technical and Public Advisory Committees.
I will move that, and I will put Maureen Swift's name on it
Second.
as our person before she puts mine up.
And one alternate, and an alternate to one elected official, one alternate, I assume that is required?
Yes.
So,
And I would nominate Councillor Grant.
I'll second that one too.
all right, so those Swift and Grants have been moved and seconded as elected official and alternate to sit on the Public Advisory Committee. Any further comments, concerns, questions?
Good luck.
Has somebody been selected for the technical advisory group?
Not at this time, but more than likely it'll be Shelley Ashfield, our municipal engineer.
All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Enough of that crap.
We have a letter of thanks from Highland Secondary regarding, I think, a couple of bursaries, perhaps.
Move for C.
Second. Words. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And another letter from the regional district regarding initiation of regional growth strategy amendment number 1. So,
I will move receipt of that.
okay, thank you.
Second.
We can give you explanation if you like.
All right, all those in favor of receipt? Motion's carried. So, related to process more than anything else, but I'll let you speak to it.
Yes, well, first of all, the technical committee does have our CAO on, and so there's a comfort level that has gone through all the CAOs. We are complying with the legal advice coming out of the Supreme Court ruling, so I think it's something that we really do need to be doing. And it will also put us in line with what other local governments are doing for regional growth strategies. I've got lots of notes here. I don't know what level you want to, basically it's a tidying up of the bylaw that we've had before.
I guess roughly what it does is it allows, you would have to go through a community in order to make a major or a minor amendment to the regional growth strategy. How we got into the problems before was a landowner came and made the request and was turned down before he was turned down from even being able to make the request. That's the general way that it's done in most regional growth strategies. We had a flaw in the way ours was written, and that is what precipitated all this. This puts us more in line with the others. The reason for that is that there's a significant administrative cost to processing an application, and if you just allow every individual landowner to come, then you can be saddled with that cost as the regional district every time. So it's done this way. In the case that I'm thinking of, if they're close to the city of Courtenay and they would want the amendment made by the city of Courtenay, they would have to get the city of Courtenay to make that approach. So that's the Coles Notes version.
Yeah, I think it's summarized quite well on the page 151 of our agenda. 152 goes on, but essentially, yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, so what are they seeking from us, CDO?
I think it's just acknowledgement
Information
at
that
this point, so receipt is fine.
Okay, so we don't need any further motions?
No.
Okay, so we received it and had it explained, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, last but not least, the letter on the fire bylaw, which is...
Move receipt.
Second.
Receipt done, all in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so we'll move on to reports from members of council. We'll start with Councillor Price.
Yes, so I attended the Comox Archives and Museum Society meeting. I'm also on a subcommittee with our staffers and Marcia Turner on looking at photos, memorabilia for the Nautical Days celebrations, a little bit of the history of Nautical Days. So if anybody has any photos, gratefully receive them. And our fire chief is picking up photos from the past, from the canoe joust, and I don't know if we have anything in the town hall. It's pretty hard finding them, so anyway, we had a meeting on that. I attended the Regional District Board meeting, the Regional Growth Strategy change, which we've talked about, was a major part of it. Director Larry Jangula also brought forward a motion to have a referendum question on the ballot at the election, that we have a governance review study, and then binding to consider the possibilities and implications of restructure. I attended Deborah's leaving party and was just at the Harbourwood photo op and wonderful play equipment that's been installed with the major contribution from the Lions. Great partnership.
Councillor Swift.
Okay, I attended the National Indigenous People Day, and that's an event that seems to be growing, and lots of people were there, which was good to see. The July 1st festivities, I went for a bus ride on the next bus ride event. And this morning I was at the Philbert Volunteer Coffee, and they're getting all geared up for the festival. And that's my report.
Councillor Arnott.
Yeah, thanks. I represented you, Mr. Mayor, for the North Island College. Anyways, I represented the mayor at the North Island College for their graduation ceremony, and the Harbourwood today with you all, and Deborah's retirement.
Councillor Kennedy.
Yes, I was fortunate enough to represent council at the Glacier View Alternate Secondary School graduation and the GP Vanier Secondary School graduations. Attended as well the National Indigenous Peoples Day celebrations at Comox First Nations. A great event. Retirement function mentioned for Town of Comox staff. Deb is retiring. Harbourwood Park refurbishing official opening today. And on Canada Day, I was foolish enough to enter the 5th Street 1 mile run representing our council, and I was able to defeat a councillor from Courtenay. However, it was sponsored by the Comox Valley Road Runners. All of the good runners in the valley were flag bearers at the race, so really any of our success during the race shouldn't be looked up on a high pedestal. Finally, I'd like to give kudos to the VIA for its work in bringing about the Summer Ambassadors Program, and I just echo that hope that it's connected with our town staff and how to best serve the public during the summer. It's just a great initiative.
Councillor Grant, on this side.
Oh, thank you. I too attended the opportunity to say goodbye to Deb Andrew. She's been here a long time. I also attended the Aboriginal Day. I was impressed with what they've accomplished there. And in particular, it was good because having attended that day and a half together with the First Nations people, to go there and actually say hi and how are you with a little bit more meaning than we had done before kind of made a difference. Also, I had an opportunity to talk to Don Cameron this morning, this with regard to Balmoral Avenue and the condos, and the fact that he is so enthusiastic about opening the house and making all those wonderful pieces, particularly stained glass, according to Marcia, that will be brought over to our museum. So that was really good. Also attended Harbourwood this afternoon, and just from a grandmother's point of view, I attended the Isbell Grad. It was very special.
Councillor Grant,
Thank you. So I attended the regional district meeting, the in-camera meeting, and the restricted in-camera meeting. And I also went on the next ride on the bus to, I think that's my first bus ride in the local area, so that was interesting. I got to be in the parade on Canada Day to represent the town, so that was good. I also met with a local group that's doing a building, and they are interested in some of the wood possibly that comes out of that house as well, to be able to put into their new adventure. So I put those two together. I don't know what will come of that. The referendum question that Larry asked was passed, so it will come to us. I have it here if you're interested in it. It just says, are you in favor of conducting a study in partnership with the province of British Columbia to review the governance structure and policies of Comox and other local governments within the Comox Valley to consider the feasibility and implications of restructure? And it's a yes or no, and it's a non-binding question. He's also asking for up to $10,000 from the regional district and the member municipalities in support of the Comox Valley Chamber of Commerce in promoting awareness and clear understandings of this referendum. So that's what the question will be. That will come to us, and we can decide whether we are in agreement with that or not.
Question on the question, if I could, Your Worship. The Chamber of Commerce led a governance review. They're trying to get the governance review question.
Petition, yeah.
So this is different.
This is to kind of build on the work that they did.
Yes.
So it's the conclusion of the work.
Maybe.
Yeah. And there's some clarification I would want on this.
Yes.
Which we can get. One is, what is a win of this? If it's done by municipality or it's done by overall vote, it really changes the whole notion of what we're trying to do here. But I think that can be cleared up before we get there. And anyway, that will be a discussion for us to have probably at our August meeting, I would assume.
Did they refer to, I think it was a January letter from the Minister Robinson about the process?
Yes, he did bring that up. Yeah.
One of the challenges, I think, with the second part of the motion is that typically these restructure processes, and certainly any kind of referendum going towards one, are administered by a local government, say a regional district or a municipality or member municipalities. To have a third party like a Chamber of Commerce involved in that may create its own issues. So that's something I think we'd have to think about. But when it comes to council,
Yeah, I think those issues can be weeded out, and then we'll have a decision and I guess whether we want to
whether it's on the ballot or
get
not.
the information or not. Yeah, absolutely.
Any issues on time in that regard, CEO?
No. Council can consider it at the August 1st meeting, and that won't create an issue with the ballots for this one.
And it comes on referral from the regional district, so
Yes.
once we receive that, we'll have that discussion. Okay.
So, last question. This was last brought to the town in a referendum in the 1990s.
1990.
Yeah.
And
It's a different kind of question, all that.
Yeah, that was about amalgamation, as I recall.
Post-study.
Yes, and this is actually to do a study for restructure, which is quite a bit different, actually.
In 96, I think it was, there was a question of whether to do a study. Then it was studied. Then it was put to a vote in the court area. that was turned down in Comox, passed in Courtney, and turned down in the other areas as well. Recently in Duncan, North Cowichan, there was a referendum to actually amalgamate, but that was after a citizens' assembly had done a bunch of work in terms of a study. And in Victoria Sanex, that's where they're at. They're looking at whether for this fall there'll be a vote on whether to have a citizens' assembly do a study or work on a study. So this is all precursor to ultimately perhaps at some point a decision. But if a question like this goes on the ballot, it is just a test of the waters, if you will, to see whether people are interested in having a study. So,
So that is coming forward soon. That's my report.
thank you. All right, I'll just report on ongoings the last couple of weeks. National Indigenous Day ceremonies, opening ceremonies at the Big House. Participated as a celebrity golfer, I guess, at the BC Ferries charity golf tournament at Bear Mountain for the Boys and Girls Clubs of, Big Brothers and Sisters Clubs of Vancouver Island. I always get those mixed up. Attended a meeting by teleconference for Recycle BC that I sit on the advisory committee for, and that was to just update on the annual report, which has been circulated, I believe. And just a point of interest that Alan Langdon, the executive director of Recycle BC, has moved over to NCorp, which of course is the bottle and can recycling company agency, and so we're in the process of hiring a new executive director. There's some interesting discussion on the teleconference about some of the things you've seen in the news in terms of plastic recycling and getting more materials that have plastic in them into recycling bins, and they're working on pilot projects in Lower Mainland area, principally for things like chip bags and coffee bags and things like that that currently aren't recyclable at our curb. But more to follow on that as we go. The next ride launch for the transit system, Deb Andrews' retirement. The Mark Isfeld grad was held outside for the first time, I think, ever, and managed to avoid the rain for the most part. And then the photo op today at Harbourway. Now, if you bear with me, I do have an announcement just to make. I'll just read from this, and copies of this will be available to you. 4 months from tomorrow, a new mayor and council will be sworn in at the town of Comox. And for the residents and taxpayers of our community, it will represent an opportunity for new leadership and new vision as the town looks to update its 2011 official community plan over the next few years. For me, it's been an enjoyable ride being elected official since 2002 when I first ran for council. As part of a slate, you may recall, Vision for Comox, Ray Cross and Janice Swanson. Ray and I got elected and then re-elected in 2005. And then I ran for and was elected as mayor and served now 3 terms under the Imagine a Better Comox banner. Over the past 15 years, much has been accomplished by Team Comox staff and council. We've addressed many needs within our community for improved library, recreation, and parks amenities, for additional parks and green space, such as Northeast Woods Crown Grant, Daybrook property acquisition, and of course for dedicated bike lanes and greenways. We've managed to, at the same time, meet our infrastructure requirements on an ongoing basis, and of course, through diligent work through our finance department, pay off all our capital debt earlier this year. We've made, I believe, great strides in our economic action plan in collaboration with the Comox Valley Economic Development and, of course, Comox Business and Action Organizations. The Marina Park and downtown revitalization components of our strat plan over the past 7 years have taken shape and borne fruit. Of course, there's always challenges going forward, and particularly meeting new provincial requirements for regional water treatment, liquid and solid waste management, of course, ongoing First Nations treaty implementation. But we are well positioned, in my view, to go forward on all these initiatives and with our own projects with a sustainable fiscal framework as our guide. However, for me, the time has come to step down from this role as mayor, and it's, I can tell you, not been a very easy decision. But that being said, my spouse and family have been very supportive in these discussions over the last few months, and they've, of course, been supportive of my time away from them in the last 9+ years at the helm of the good ship Comox. I want to thank them for their love, guidance, and support throughout my time here. And as mayor, I want to thank my law partners and staff at Eisberger, who of course will be happy to see much more of me. I'm not retiring from law practice anytime soon. At this point, I also want to give kudos to members of council and staff who have worked very well in an exciting and dynamic time to be part of local government. And I look back to 2008, when the town's fiscal position in a world, country, and province experiencing essentially a meltdown, an economic crisis. It looked to be pretty tenuous at times. But it was through hard work, determination, and partnerships with senior levels of government that we were able to get a lot of much-needed infrastructure done largely in the cause of generating employment and economic activity. And it's good to look back sometimes to see where we've been and to where we're going. Our focus now, of course, is much sharper and more targeted, and we've seen more economic activity at the waterfront, in our downtown, at the airport, with the private sector now stepping up to the plate and making those investments. It's my hope, and I know Councillor McKinnon mentioned this in his press release, that people who have been making solid contributions elsewhere in our community will be given an opportunity to step up and give back as an elected official, whether running for mayor or for council seat here this October. And I would, in particular, and echo some of, again, what Councillor McKinnon said, like to encourage those younger than me. I'm just pointing out, I'm 54, and still the youngest member of council by a few months.
No way, 54.
And I've been here for 16 years almost, so certainly a little bit younger. And those also who can help represent diversity and gender balance at our council table, and we've had a pretty good reflection of that here, to consider putting their names on a ballot. I would wish all the best to those running for council seats this fall, and I always hearken back to what the great Satchel Paige once said: don't look behind you, they might be gaining on you. And remember, we have still much work to do until that time, and we're going forward again under our guiding principles and objectives of our strat plan to make the town the best place to live, love, laugh, work, and play. And of course, I look forward to finishing off our mandate with all of you on the table here. So thank you for that. And since I won't be collecting campaign contributions, I will be, of course, still looking for contributions to the Ride and Conquer Cancer at the end of August. And I've just reached the 55% threshold there. So if you could pass the word along to that effect, I would appreciate it. Thank you for indulging me.
Well done.
Well, that's the tough part. And yeah, there's copies of the press release if there wants it, but I do appreciate that, and we'll finish off the meeting with questions from the media and any public questions.
I just want to make one comment that your foresight of Imagine Better Comox is now coming to fruition. As you said, we have the marina under your guidance. The town has really broken away from that 2008 period when I first got on council. We have brew pubs popping up all over. We've got 2 coming in the town of Comox. We've got a little lounge here. We've got some real movement and some energy happening in the town. And under your leadership, great work by our staff and our council. I think we're poised to do well in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Well, it's not trademarked, so you can still use it for going forward.
Yeah. Can the picture be pulled off?
So, media questions at this time? Members of the public questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. Don Davis from Comox. On behalf of your dedicated peanut gallery, I'd like to extend our thanks for your service to our community. I'm just wondering on the ballot question, is what the Director Jang was asking is that it be put on the Comox ballot?
Yes, potentially, yes.
So if
Comox Courtney Regional District. Yeah.
If they're asking for funding from the town to have the Chamber of Commerce do their promotion,
right,
does that not sort of give a letter of endorsement from the people that are providing the funding?
That's a question we'll have to address for sure. The funding would be through the Regional District Initiatives budget, which has allocated from time to time for things like the homelessness question that was put on the last ballot. So that would be something we'd have to think about. Whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or the Regional District, there would be some work involved in explaining the question. And it may be something that we just leave at the Regional District for them to deal with. And we would pay, quote, our share of that through the Regional District. But we'll have to have that discussion in August.
And also just supplementary, if I may, there was an indication that the Regional District or the municipalities would be paying for the study, or is it still the province that pays for the study?
The study itself would be something that would undoubtedly be cost shared between the province and the local governments as it was done in the 90s. So, their budgets for those things are established, and there's different parts of the province going through different studies, so it would be still subject to that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. And so, no other questions, no in-camera meetings tonight. Motion to adjourn would be in the room.
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.